こんにちは。よー。今日は、ザ・スタンリー・パラベというゲームをやっていこうと思うんだけども、なんかね、このゲーム、まずネタバレギンギンらしくて、レビューとかも見てなくて、どんなゲームかちょっと事前に説明できないんだけど、まあなんかおもろいらしいから、ちょっとやっていこうと思います。待って。うん。OK。前にザ・スタンリー・パラベルをプレイしたことがありますかよ。いいです。すごい危ない。いいです。パソコンがギリギリ見えるくらいまでスライダーを調整してください。これ、結構明るめにしとかないと見えないことがあるらしい。はい。現在の時刻。11時4分くらい。多分。OK で。ザ・スタンリー・パラベルのウルトラディラックスというバージョンです。お、すごい。画面の中に画面があって、その画面の中にまた画面がある。まあ、始めていくか。わかんないけど。なんだ
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
これはスタンリーという名の男の名。スタンリーは大きなビルの会社で従業員番号427として働いていました。従業員番号427の仕事は一定単純。427番の部屋でデスクに向かい、キーボードのボタンを押すだけです。指令は机のモニターを通してきました。どのボタンをどれくらいの長さを押せばよいのかを教えてくれるのです。変なの。従業員427は何ヶ月も何年もこの作業を日々繰り返していました。この人たちにとっては魂が引き裂かれるようだったかもしれません。しかしスタンリーは指令が入るたび楽しんでいました。まるでこの仕事をするために生まれてきたかのように。スタンリーは幸せでした。そしてある日、なんだかとても奇妙なことが起きたのです。そんなスタンリーを永遠に変えてしまうような何かが、彼が決して忘れることがないであろう何かが。1時間近くデスクに座っていたのに、モニターから一つも指令が来ていないことに気がつきました。彼に指令を出す人も会議を開く人も挨拶する人さえ誰もいません。おお、うまい。入社してから一度だってこんな完全な孤立はありませんでした。Complete isolation。明らかに何か変だ。ショックで固まったスタンリーは長いこと身動きが足りなくなっていました。なんか書いてる下に。待って。なんだ。もう動けるんだけど。何も来ない。今度遠くね。これかな、これか。リティクリ1を出すとか。僕が、なんだっけ、デュアルショックの十字キーない。ないわ。もうこれでいいか。うわ、なんか気持ち悪い視線の動きが。2くらいかな。もうこれぐらいかな。足が速い。意外と。何にもできないや。この部屋では。どれもいないんだけど。ぐちゃぐちゃ。変な音したおかない。しまっちゃった。おこんくなった。どうして
All of his co-workers were gone.
彼の同僚たちは全員いなくなってしまったのです。
Stanley
と
decided
いう
to
こと
go
な
to
ら
the meeting room.
スタンリーは
Perhaps
会
he
議
had
室に向かう
simply
ことに
missed
し
a
ました。
memo.
おそらく彼は伝言を見落としたんでしょう。確かに何にもできないや。プリントは散らばっているし、
No matter how hard Stanley looked,
スタンリー
he
がどれだ
couldn't
け一
find
生
a
懸命
trace
探
of
しても
his
同僚たちの
co-workers.
痕跡は、バーって言った？
Stanley went around touching
スタン
every
リーは
little
オフィ
thing
ス
in
の
the
あらゆるものを
office,
触
but
っ
it
て回り
didn't
ま
make
し
a
た。
single
でも
difference.
少しも変わらない
Nor
し、
did
決し
it
て物語
advance
は
the
進展
story
し
in
ませ
any
んでした。
way.
お、なんか乗っちゃった。ナンバーワンだった。なんか子供からの贈り物とかかな。
Oh, please. Are you
ああ、
really
ちょっ
just
と、
doing this
本
for
当に
the
実績のためだ
achievement?
けにやってやるん
Click
です
the
か？
door 5 times. Is
ドア
that
5回
all
クリッ
that
ク
you
され
think
て、
an
それだ
achievement
けで
is
実
worth?
績の数があるとは何ですか？
I can't
いや
just
いや
give
いや、
these
そん
merits
なち
away
っちゃ
for
い努
such
力の
little
単に
effort.
功績なんか
A
与えられません。
measly
ちっぽ
5
けなクリック5
clicks.
回
Now
なんて、
suppose
なん
you
だ
were
と、
to
こい
click
つ。
the door
おら、
20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants
20 回
recognition.
クリックしやれ。なんだこいつ。どこに向かって喋りかけてる？
I have to say, I'm still not feeling
う
the
ん、崇高
satisfaction
な
of
目的のための
witnessing
真
true
の努
effort
力を
for a
目の当たり
noble
にして、
cause.
なお私をやんだんだ
Perhaps
50
50
回
clicks
クリックしたことでした。
will do it.
クリッ
Almost
クしやれじゃん。
certainly 50 clicks.
どうでしょうって言われたらクリックしたくなくなっちゃうな。I like work. I just hate my boss. おいおいおい。ダメだよ。上司に見られたらどうすんの？じゃあ50回クリックしてあげてもいいな。しょうがないから。今めっちゃ連打してる。
No, no, I'm still not feeling it. I want this
いや、ダメ
achievement to
だ。
have meant
まだそん
something.
な
It
気分
has
に
to
な
be
らない。
a true reward for valiant
私は
effort.
何
I
か
want
全
to see
力を
some
欲しいんだよ、スタンリ
hustle,
ー。
Stanley.
ハ
I
ッ
want
ス
to
ル、
see
スタン
commitment,
リ
a
ー。
willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into
417 番
door
ドアに
number
20クリックしに行か
417?
ないの？ 417はどれ？別にここでいいだろ。ダメなの？黙々とクリックしてる。これは何？ナレーションと喧嘩するゲームなの？うん。なんでどこクリックしてもさ、マウスクリックするみたいな音が鳴るんだろう。お You can't jump. ほんとだ、ジャンプできない。このや、どこもかしかない。おっと、パソコン電源切れちゃうし。417番。海外の会社ってさ、全部そうなのかな？全部こんな感じで部屋番号振られてて。お、これか。なんかあれ？ここに入るの？奥の池だ。文字でどれもいない。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the
スタン
door
リーの
on
前
his
に
left.
2つの開いたドアがあり、これは左に入りました。左に入りますとって言われたら右に入りたくなる。
This was not the correct way to
こ
the
れが
meeting
会議
room,
室への
and
正しい
Stanley
道は
knew
ない。
it
スタンリー
perfectly
はその
well.
ことをとてもよく
Perhaps
わ
he
かって
wanted
い
to
ました。
stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
なんかついてる？入れない。耳がちらぶっている。お、なんだえ ?448。449。ここは何のドアですか？ 450。置いて。
Ah, yes, truly a room
あ、
worth
そうです。
admiring.
この部屋
It
は
had
本
really
当
been
に。
worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
そうだね。
Stanley simply stood here,
スタンリーはただそ
drinking
こに
it
立ち
all in.
見とれました。もうこれ飲めない？
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating
コー
that
ルドリン
even
ク
though all your
1.25
coworkers have
300円ぐらいか
mysteriously
な多分。
vanished,
わかんないけ
here
ど。
you sit looking at these chairs
こっ
and
てわ
some
かんないや。
paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this
こ
room
の時点で
bordered
スタ
on
ンリーの
creepy
この部屋に
and
対する
reflected
執着
poorly
は
on his overall
彼の人
personality.
格を反映していま
It's
す。
possible that this is why
そのせいで
everyone
みんな
left.
が出ていったという可能性もあります。ひどいよ。そしてそんなこ
But
と
at
言うんですか？
last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to
仕
business.
事の上に最初のドア。あれこれ帰ってきた？違うかい？なんだこの部屋。
Stanley was so bad
Oh.
at following directions, it's
スタンリーは
incredible
指示
he
に従
wasn't
うことが
fired
とても
years
下手で
ago.
何年もクビにならなかったのが不思議なりません。ひどい。どうしてそんなことやん。Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop. もし今嘘ついてるんだったらやめなさい。これ何の部屋なんだろうね。絶対しまっちゃう。うわなんかコードがいらんだ。コードない？コードない。うわー怖い。天井が高い建物って怖いんですよね。こっち行きたい。ジャンプとかでもできないんだよね。シャゴマはできるけど。
Look, Stanley, I
Oh.
think perhaps we've
あの
gotten
さ、
off
スタン
on
リ
the
ー。
wrong
もし
foot.
かしたら私たちは
I'm
出
not
花を
sure
くじかれた
if
かもしれ
you
ま
really
せん。
are not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
あなたが忘れてしまっ
Someone
た
you've
人がいる
forgotten
のです。
about.
うわ。
Please, stop
お
trying to
願いだ
make
から
every
一人で
decision
全
by
てを決めよう
yourself.
としないで。
I'm not asking for
今
me.
私は私のために尋ねているのではなく、彼女のためなのです。これ落ちたらさ、死んじゃったりする？
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley left from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
あ、最初からになっちゃった。
All of his co-workers
お
were
ー、
gone.
もうそりゃ
What
死
could
ぬ
it
か。
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
お、開くんだ。
When Stanley came to a set
そう
of
だ
two
な。
open doors,
いろ
he
いろ、
entered the
もう
door
こ
on
っち
his
行ってみる
left.
か。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room.
いいっ
What
す
a
ね。
beautiful room. But eager to get back to business,
お、
Stanley took the first open door on his
すごい。
left.
全然変わってる。え、こんな
And
と
so
こ。
he detoured through the maintenance section,
お、置い
walked
てたっ
straight
け？
ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
え、置いてたっけこんなところ。おー、なるほどね。これが左側のドアが来るはずだったルートってことか。で、これが会議室。
Yet there was not a single
しか
person
し、こ
here
こにも誰
either.
一人としていませんで
Feeling
し
a
た。
wave of disbelief,
信仰の
Stanley
波が押
decided
し寄
to
せる
go
中、
up to his
ダンディは
boss's
そこなら
office,
何か
hoping
答
he
えを見
might
つかるか
find
も
an
しれない
answer
と
there.
上司のオフィスに行くことにした。上の階。ブルーム、ローゼット。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet,
Well.
but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
本当に何もないのこれ。
There was nothing here.
いいや。
No choice to make, no path to follow. Just
上っ
coming
て
to a
言われた
staircase,
けど
Stanley
下に
walked
向かっ
upstairs
ちゃう
to
の
his boss's
に。
office.
怖っ。怖いんだけど、とても。なんかある。なんかある。待って、これちょっとさ。待って、ダメか。スクリーンショット撮りたいんだけど。いらない。はい。なんか描いてる。なんか絵も描いてるね。これよく見たら。ダメだわ。全然近づいてみらないや。お。
But Stanley just couldn't
で
do
も
it.
スタンリーはどうし
He
てもできな
considered
か
the
った。
possibility of facing
彼は
his
勤務時間
boss,
中に職場を離れ
admitting
た
he
こ
had
とは認
left
め、
his post
上司と
during
対面する
work
可能
hours.
性を考
He
え
might
ま
be
した。
fired for that.
彼はクビに
And
な
in
るか
such
も
a
しれない。
competitive
そして
economy,
こんな競
why
争
had
社
he
会の中、
taken that
なぜこのようなリスクを負
risk?
った
All
のでしょ
because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
う。
All
お
of my
ー。
coworkers
エグジットある。
blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any
確かに。
logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't
例え
he
ば
see
なぜ
his
下を向いて
feet
も自分
when
の
he
足元
looked
が、
down?
見えない。
Why did doors close automatically behind him
お。
wherever he went?
確かに。
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
ほ
Were
ん
they
とだ。
simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
え、
And at
え、
last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have
え、
finally found
星
an
ボン出
answer,
口みたいに
an
なっちゃった。
explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
確かに。
So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the
え、
ground.
浮いてる、浮いてる。待
Then
って。
he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too
お
appeared.
ー。
It was so much fun,
お
and Stanley
ー。
marveled that he had still not woken up.
な
How
んだ。
was he
どう
remaining
しちゃ
so
ったのこれ。
lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head
なぜ私の
dictating
頭の中で
everything
行
that
動
I'm
したり
doing
考
and
えたりする
thinking?
すべてを口述する声が
Now
して
the
いるの
voice
だろ
was
うか。
describing itself being considered by Stanley, who
お
found
ー。
it particularly strange.
確かに。
I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How
子
could
供
it
も
be?
乗れない。
Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes
どうやっ
gently,
て。
and he invited
あ、
himself
あ、
to wake
あ、
up.
見閉じた。
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one.
お
Let me
ー。
wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
お、目覚めた。
Stanley began screaming.
Oh.
Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
いい。
This is the story of a woman named
こ
Mariella.
と。ストンリーは
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She
Mariella-
rose, got dressed,
Who is
gathered
Mariella?
her belongings, and walked to her
Eh?
place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there,
救急車
staring
呼んで
down
く
at
れ
the body. And then she turned and
おい
ran.
おいおいおい。冷たいね。狂って死んじゃったエンド。そんなことあれ。おー、なるほどね。結構エンディング
All
が
of his co-workers were gone.
いくつもあ
What
る
could
ん
it
だ。
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
こっちに
When
行くでしょ。
Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
さっ
Perhaps
き
he
さ、
wanted to
1
stop by
回
the
目って
employee
左の
lounge
ドア開い
first,
てたっけ。
just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art.
これこれこれ
But
置いてたか
eager
な。
to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
すいません。
Stanley was so bad at
しまっ
following
ちゃった。
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
なんかあそこにドアがある。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be
こっち
difficult.
行きたいけ
But
ど、
the fact
ダメ
is
か
that
な。
the story has been
あ、
about nothing. But in his eagerness to prove that he
ちょっ
is in
と待って。
control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone
Good
thinks you
job,
are very
Sandy.
powerful.
ダメなのかいけないのかすごい。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もう開いてない。入れ
Stanley
た
went
よ。
around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference.
なんか
Nor
ね、
did it advance
ドアの
the
奥に
story.
見える
Stanley
ドアっ
came to a
て、
set of two open
単
doors.
に
This
数
was
字
not
じゃないん
the
だよ
correct
ね。
way to the meeting room,
4B
and
い
Stanley
く
knew
つと
it
か。
perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
俺
just
と
to
かね。
admire it.
4B9 とか。
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
でも、多分、
Stanley was so bad at
4B なん
following
とかっていうの
directions,
は、
it's
このド
incredible
ア
he
と
wasn't
か、
fired years ago.
あのドアに繋がってそうな感じがする。これちゃんと乗ってたらいけるかな。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten
うん、
off on
繋
the
がって
wrong
さ。
foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
おもち
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's
そこも
someone
ドア
you've
があ
been
る。
neglecting, Stanley.
なんかすごいさ、モンスターズインクのドアいっぱいあるとこにいたい。
Stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley.
これはね、まさにスタンリー、自分自身を取り戻すチャンスなんです。彼女をあなたの人生に取り戻せ。奥さんのこととかはいいのかな。うわ、なんだこれ。でもこう、行くしかないくない？もうだって、行くとこないよ。ここまだ開いてやんな。これもう動かないし。いいよ、もう黒いとこ行くしかないんだけど。どう？あなたが彼女に手を差し伸べる必要があるのです。もしあなたが本当に他の人に信頼を受けるなら電話に出て。電話を聞いちゃった。ちょっと待って、なんてことだよ。電話線抜いちゃった。ごめん。なんで？俺は選択できないはずだったのにどうやったの？ノレーターパニックって言ってくさ。いいよ。待っててあげる。めっちゃタバコ吸ってる。彼は自分のアパートの中で彼の妻を見つけ、そして二人は互いに。そういう感じだったんだ、エンドは。ごめん、電話線来ちゃった。まあ、確かにね。何やってんのもうって言われた。
No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
お、そうだよ。僕は全照寺って言います。よろしくね。
This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back sack and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant.
なんか僕今教育されてるんですけど、真剣に教育ビデオ見てないからまた怒られるかもしれない。あんまり見てませんでした。うわめちゃくちゃなってる。はい。僕のせい。
Now that you're properly informed on good decision making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
お トップストップストップ。もう進んでみるかちょっとわかんないけど。お、しまっちゃった。あんまり変わってないよ、でも。こっちも行けないし。あれ？なんか柵が取り付けられてる。お、しまった。そう、僕飛び降りて死んじゃったから。そこ閉まってる。
We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
おいとは、そうだよ、すぐ僕で落ちて死んじゃうからね。受けたいけどわかんないね。どこまで戻るんだこれ。
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending. The story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
あ、こたちさんよ、こんにちは。今日はね、ザ・スタンリー・パラベルっていう。ゲームをやってるんだけど、ちょっとナレーターさんがめっちゃ喋るんだこのゲーム。OK。左側ね。はい。
No! Why did you do that?
Hurry
back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
ボグってる、だいぶ。だいぶボグってる。ここ置かないの？ノア、なんでそんなことしたよって言われた。いい、もうこっち行くと見せかけてこっちに入れ。あれ？どれだ？取れないのここ。あったのこのゲーム。すごい昔。これすごい昔のゲームなんだ。僕、初めてやるんですけど、このゲーム。さっきからずっとナレーターの言うこと無視して、好き勝手に動いて。いや、もうしょうがないな、じゃあ。こっち行ってあげる。行ってほしいって言うからさ。
I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone? Left here like so much garbage. It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do?
Oh, do you have quality?
No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Whoa.
I'm here. I'm still here.
You're
in this pile of rubbish with you. You who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
10年近い前のゲーム。そうなんだこれ。そんな昔なの？
My story.
抜いちゃった。
If you'd
もう
just
来な
gone
い
through
で。
the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed
そうな
it
の。
and
そんな
been
簡単なゲームだったの
victorious.
こ
It
れ。
would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to
わ
make
あ、それはこれ。
it behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task.
Okay,
Just
わかっ
follow
た。
my lead and you'll be fine. All right.
OK。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
はい。
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry.
OK。おい、
Behave exactly as Stanley
早い、
would.
早い。
That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story
小さい
first.
頃クリアした気が忘れて、でも何も覚えてない。おお、そうなの。結構なんかいろいろエンディングあるらしい。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
はい。
doors,
わかったわ
he
かった。
entered the door on his left.
わかったわかった。あれ、何も言わないもん。何も言わないな。僕右側に入ったよ。
No! Why did you do that?
遅いよ。
Quickly, hurry back.
お、これもう勝手に戻されちゃうの。
Exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing
間に合わないってこと
responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite
じゃあ
sure
もう
you'll
し
be
ょうが
up
ない
to
な。
the
こ
task.
っち行こ
Just
うか。
follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
確かにバックルームスかなあれ。てかリミナルスペースかな。いつもは人がいる場所に人が全然いない。今何時？連絡してるこれ時間。僕最初に時間を打ったわ、そういえば。
Yet there was not a single person here either.
うん。
Feeling a
誰
wave
も
of
いないんだ。
disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
で、さっき下に行って、なんか、
Coming to a
おー、
staircase,
閉じられて
Stanley
る。
walked upstairs to his boss's office.
おー。閉鎖されてる。僕があんまりにも言うこと聞かないから。お、なんだこの部屋。何ですか？ベージュページズ。なんだそれは。
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley
そ
wondered
う
in、
誰も
disbelief
ね、
who
いないけど、
orchestrated this
君じゃないな。
until he saw the door with a voice
ドアの
receiver
横に
next
物
to
理
it.
じゃん、これ。
Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115.
ナイ
Was
ト
this
シャ
the
ーク
code to open the door?
115。
Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp
I am
breath
the boss,
and then spoke
most
the code.
expensive boss. ナイトシャーク115。あれ言ってよ。あ、こたつさん、ですね。またね。そう、喋れないから。
He spoke
115。
it into the receiver right there on the wall.
Please look clearly into the receiver. ナイトシ
I'm
ャー
sorry, is there a problem?
ク。
You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story.
で、
This
そんな
is
こ
a
と言われて
crucial
もさ、
step.
僕喋ってるけど、聞いてないじゃん、君が。
Okay, fine. You're not gonna
え、
do it.
あ、
But you know
怖
what?
い。
It's pretty humiliating
こうでや
to
ってお
bring
い
you
て。
this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I
すご
asked
い
you for
ノ
this
レート
one
必須コーデに
single
されちゃっ
thing
た。
for your respect.
The kind of respect
どうっ
Stanley
て
shows
喋れ
for
ないんだ
his
から。
choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there.
怒って
Why
ない
did you
じゃん。
come this way?
ロッテ
Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
僕右のドア入ったけどさ、見怒ったんじゃん。
Stanley? Hello? Are you...
ハロー？僕はこれどういう状態やな。
Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice.
The end.
I need you to walk through the door.
え、音。
Listening to me? Can you hear me? Is
え
everything... Stanley, this is
どう
important.
いうこと？
The story needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that
それ
step
と
forward,
ヒスって終わっ
please.
ちゃった。
Choose. Do something.
Do something?
This is more important than you can ever know.
人の DPS に切れたトンクを言うじゃ
Story
ん。
needs it.
DPS do something.
So, you hear me? Are you there? You listening
ザ
to this?
インドっ
Stanley,
て
are。you there?
ほんで、僕言うこと聞いたの
I
に。
can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is
僕の
the
声
best
よく似せて
choice.
ごめんね、ニロイ。どれ？
I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
あれべ？これってsteam の会社を作ったやつなの？お、終わっちゃった。嘘だな。時間ずれてる。別になんかあったらできないな。
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all
私がみんな
just
消え
laugh
ちゃ
and
ったって
laugh
思
at
った
the
時の
time
こ
I
とどっ
thought
かんどっ
everyone
かん
had
笑う
gone
だろう
missing?
な。
When Stanley came to a set of
いいの
two
これこ
open
っち行っ
doors,
て。
this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly
そう、
well.
知ってるんだ。え、
Perhaps he wanted
こ
to
れやっ
stop
ぱり
by the
さ、
employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his
こ
stomach.
れ、
Giddy in a but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
進んでる話。ヒストンク。
Stanley was so
で、
bad at
200、は
following
てなはてな
directions,
はて
it's
な。
incredible he wasn't fired
本
years
当に、あ、なん
ago.
か書いてる。Penalty for you misuse of cargo lift。そんな、ひどいよ。カーゴリフト間違って使っちゃっただけで、1000ドル取られるんだって。ひどいね。そんな、ブラックだよ、それは。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust
こ
in
れ、ここに
someone
さ、
else can
降
be
りれないか
difficult,
な。
but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've
ダメ
been
ですか？
neglecting, Stanley. What? Really?
お、いけた。
In the middle of something, do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
言うとは、こっち
I
来れ
don't
た。
know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you.
そうなの。
To
お、
show you something
なんとか
beautiful.
B のとこ来れた。
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side.
本当
Give me a
に。
chance.
もうさっきからだってひどいことばっかりされるじゃん。譲ってるし、なんか。お、なんだこれ。
Now listen carefully, this is important.
うん。わかった。
Stanley
よく
walked
聞きま
through
す。
the red door.
オッケー。
Aha. Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked
ここは、
through
こ
the
こは
red
何？ここは
door.
何？僕カード欲しいけど、カードくれない。
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red. All
多
right,
いとこや。
fine, go ahead,
いいぞ、いい
Stanley.
ぞ、どう
You
ぞ、ス
want
タ
to
ン
know
リ
so
ー。
badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road? You've
そう。
chosen well. Don't
僕は
let
君の
me
ことを殺したい
stop
だ
you.
けなんだよ。
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't
なん
even
だこ
finished
こ。
building this section of the map. Because you
so
were never
なの？
supposed to be here in the first place.
ええ。
Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
こっち行きたい
Do
わ
you
かる。
not think
こ
I
っち
put
行
a
か
lot
せ
of
て。
time into
こっ
that?
ちでもいいや。
Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to
す
see.
ねてる。
Help
モー
me
ド
here,
ヒスキル
Stanley.
は。
Help elucidate these strange
え
and
え。
unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you
な
can
ん
give
で
me
もいい
some
けど僕
feedback.
君のことを怒らせたいだけ
There
なん
we
だよ。
go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
いいじゃん。
Okay, I'm going to stop
Please
you
rate
there.
your
Now,
experience.
tell me about your
ええ。
experience with this new version.
だこ
Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
う。ボルゴさんよー、こんにちは。今は、ナレーターを怒らせて遊んでる。
You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul.
およ、これはだいぶ前にやったやつの新作ですか？え、ボルゴさんが
Here,
だい
based
ぶ
on
前
the
に
data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version.
僕はこのゲームやったことないや。
I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one.
え、
Let's take
や
a
ったこと
look.
ないよね、僕。お、なんだこれすごいで。ワールドワイドリーダーボード。おー。本当にいる人たち。21% のプレイヤーがイントロをスキップしたのを知っていましたか？これ僕かな。正しいドアを選ぶまでに7時間かかった。え？嘘でした？それはさすがにないや。もう一回ここ行くか。
Now, would you say that competitive
あれ？
leaderboard helped you feel
さっ
motivated
き
to
僕
keep
ここ行っ
walking
たかな。
through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
じゃあ、これで。
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
できれば前やったものの大きさを考える部屋の
In
や
this
つ。ああ、
game, the baby crawls left
なんか出てき
towards
た。
danger. You click the button to
こ
move
の
him
とこボ
back
タンを
to
クリック
the
すると
right.
赤ちゃんの
And
右
if
に
he
戻り
reaches
ま
the
す。
fire, you
おー、
fail.
なるほ
It's a
ど。
very
いい
meaningful
よ、や
game.
ろう。
All about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will
それ
really
何
take
だったっけ？
notice.
ス
But
ー
of
パーリ
course,
ミナル
the
か。
message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing
っ
it
ぽいよ
for
ね、
about
世界
4
観。
hours.
と
So
いう
why
か、
don't
こ
you
の
give it
リミナ
4
ル
hours
ス
of
ペース
play
みたいな
to
感じ
make
が。
sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
バンバンバン。もう飽きた。もう飽きたちょっと。ごめん。
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
だってこの
Because
ゲー
if
ム
it's
は
the
つまんない
latter,
や
I。don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas.
君がちゃん
I
と作った
can't
ゲーム
think
がお
of
もろ
a
い。
single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done.
お、
It's
こいちゃった。
over.
そう
Thank you
だ
for playing. Your input was extremely
もうちょ
valuable.
っと遊
Oh,
ぼうよ。
hey, since my game
僕
was so
と。
awful, why don't we play someone else's game just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
なんだ、また戻された。すごい。
Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about,
これ、
Stanley? What's our backstory?
これってば
What is
さ、
the motivation?
僕はちょっと前にやった なんか監視するホラーゲームのやつみたい。でっかい自然公園の中でなんか監視係やるホラーゲームみたいなやったんだけど、それみたい。フックブック。おー、めっちゃ似てる。マジこんなのってね。なるほど。英語のナレーションとかね。そうだね、確かに。めっちゃしびる感じ。めっちゃ似てる。怖いやつからよ。なんか怖いカルト集団がさ、森の中でなんか燃やしてんだ。森見るやつ。ベッドの下隠れないと。マジでさ、物の配置なんで一緒くない？もうそんなもんなのかな。そうなのかな。何？なんでダメなの？なんかここにさ、こうしてトイレがあってさ、一旦ここに隠れてやり過ごして、どうして向こう帰るみたいな。このゲームやってん。
It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Oh,
thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
何？
You nearly wandered off into that
あれの中に
thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions.
Open
No
water.
path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we
なんで
avoided
オー
it.
プンワールド機嫌いな
Out
の？
of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
多分どっかから壁抜けれんな。
Okay, I think this will be
違うかな。
just the thing.
お、違った。お、なんだこれ。
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box
Get
for
to
you
the
to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design.
カルトって聞いてチューチューチャールズの方が出てきた。それの方が割と最近やったやつだね。あれもカルトだった。変なやつらが変なことしてるゲームって怖いのかな。よくわかんないもん。未知のものって怖いよね。
Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball?
Roller.
Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
お、でかいでかい。こんなでかくてどうすんのこれ。お、やったー。ルシオボールみたいなの始まったけど。
Are you doing it?
あ、
Hold on. What are you doing?
お、ごめん。落ちちゃった。
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How would
おい、
you
遠
write
い
a。story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
お、いなくなっちゃった、あいつ。どうすんの？お、何ここは。ボロボロな会社だ。自分のホラーゲーかな。これホラーゲーじゃないよね。こいつがいないだけで途端に怖くなっちゃうな。のりーとうさん。お、なんかちょっこれ。なんだ？なんか見てる。のりーとうさん。早く迎えに来てよ、僕のこと。なんか監視してる。 つまりこれは。お、
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it.
何
He'll
どういうこと
understand
だ
soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me.
そう、そう。
Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon.
Very
I can
soon.
wait.
お、お、え、じゃあ、今のまた一つのエ
How
ンディング
long
だっ
was
た
I
んだ。
sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes?
え
Days?
ー、
Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
怖かったな。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he
これ
entered the
も
door
う
and
入ってたね、
this
こっ
was
ち。
not the correct way to the
お、入
meeting
ってな
room,
い。
and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
で、もう一回降りて、
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
もう一
ago.
回ちょっとここに飛び乗って、
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps
人
we've
もちょっと
gotten
行
off on the
ってみ
wrong
たいけど
foot
ね。
here.
なんかそこから
I'm
出
not
れそう
sure,
だし。
Anthony, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's
怖い、
someone
毎
you've
回
been
怖い。
neglecting, Stanley. Someone you
い
forgot. Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you,
お、来な
to
い。
show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
ちょっと言う
Now
こと
listen
聞いてみる
carefully,
か。
this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
いいよ。
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to
お、
me.
ありがたい。
You see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time. The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way
え、
you're
お、
doing right
お、お、
now.
あれあれ
Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just
え、あれ
stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
何をお、おー、
What do we want? What are we looking for?
録音。おー、いけないよ、こっち。へへ。たまには言うこと聞いてあげようと思って。
Here.
おー、すごい。
Yes. Oh, it's
綺麗だ。
beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel
綺麗
happy.
だな。
No, wait.
はい。
Where are you
な、
going?
何いつダメだったなんだこの部屋。横行きだ。どれこの根が落ちてる。なんだこれ。
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
それってやるってことやるのってことはやれってこと
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
なるほどね。これをね。
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
いい。怖い。思いとどまってみよう。逆にね。やれって言ってるもんだから、これって。そういう見え見えの誘導はね、僕はあんましね、釣られないんですよね。ほんとやめてあげよう。
Good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
もう一回行こうと。
No. What do we talk
おい、
about?
こら、
You're
何
risking
が釣ってん
everything
の
we achieved here. You
かわ
heard
い
me
い、こいつ。
before, didn't you? You will
本当にかわいい
die.
やん。
What about this isn't getting through to you?
あと3往復ぐらいするか。僕もね、高いとこ苦手だから。本当は高いとこから飛び降りとかは、ちょっと嫌かも。でもさ、ずっとここにいたってさ、何するの？
You are going to stay here, aren't you?
そうだよ。ずっとここで光見ててあげる。もう行き止まりなんだよね、ここ。あそこから飛び降りるしかなさそう。だってもう何も言わなくなっちゃったし。あいつもちょっと飽きちゃったんだ。僕のことに。僕のってどうでもいいんでしょ。ナレーターさん。本当は。僕の命なんてどうでもいいんだ。さよなら。
No! Oh,
あれ？
thank God you lived.
生き
You
てた。
had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other
え？
room?
他の部屋どこ？そう。ヒス穴になっちゃう。拾っちゃう。お！すげえ、パーティーラーメンみたいになってる。なんだこりゃ。
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We
うわ
really
いや、なん
can.
か。
If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving. Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
落ちれるんですかね。
No, what are you doing? Do you just
黒
not
いところ
believe me?
黒い
What
と
can
こ
I
ろ
say
に
to
なんか
convince
見
you?
えない壁の判定があって、あれ以上なんか外に出れないんですよね。もう一回ね。これね。いっちゃ。
Stanley, let's go back to the other room.
泣きそうになって。
Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it?
いや
You
別
were
に
literally
嫌いじゃな
willing
い
to
けど。
kill
だ
yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
ってどこも行けないんだから
Maybe
さ。
you're just getting a kick out of it.
もう
I
何
don't
もわ
know
からないや。
anymore.
わからない
I
って言
just
われ
hope
ちゃ
you
った。
actually want to stay alive, or are you just teasing me?
じゃあそうだよ。歩くのめっちゃ遅くなってる。うわーん。
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley.
Hmm.
I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
足めっちゃ折れちゃったのか。めっちゃ歩くの遅くなってる。俺の顔なんか縮んでる気もするし。めっちゃ遅い、めっちゃ遅い。全然歩けん。 いいんだね。僕がここから落ちたって。でも次落ちたらもう多分歩けないから足遅くなっちゃう。いいん。
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
落ちちゃった。なんか、お、変わってる。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
ちょっとさ、言うこと聞いてあげるか。従順な僕です。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
でもさ、言うこと聞いてもさ、エグゼキューティブボスラン。いいえ。ボスはやれって言ったことを知ってるから、もしボスが、それに苦しんでたら、それはボスが選んだことだ。言ってる。どんなとこにトイレットペーパーついてんの？取りにくくね？お、ここ行けるようになってる。ここもちょっと変わってる。ない。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845.
僕の誕生
But
日
of course, Stanley
0824
couldn't possibly have known this.
待って、もう一回教えて。教えちゃった。もう一回言って。前から思ってたんですが、小野さん、英語読めるのすごいな。すごいですな。まあ、ちょっとだけね。ほんとちょっとだけ。2845だ。教えてくれ。お、なんかなった。多いね。これもうこっち行けないの。行けなくなって。英語と、他の言語はまあ、ちょっとだけ読めるやつと読めないやつある。英語だけね。数学算数全然できない。理科とかもわかんないし。僕、関東の地図とかも全然わかんない。終わってる。まず終わってるんだよね、僕。その、学力で言ったらね。英語だけ、言語系だけできる。何？いけないけど、どういうことですか？眩しいし、これ。その誕生日と1日違うと、そうなの？ 23？25？ お、なんかあれあっち。これ、落ちろってことは？ここから怖いよ。なんかね、あっちにあるんだ、上に。行きませんか、向こう。 映像ちゃうか。お、すごい、落ちないや。おい。結局世の中で一番必要な言語系ができるからいいですよ。まあ、そうだ。人と喋れるのがいいなと思うけど、コミュ障だからそもそも言語分かっても人と喋れんとじゃね無意味。25か、覚えたから。うわ。パンパン。思って、向こっちゃった。
Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
お。帰ってきた。
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again.
すごい無理筋でかばってくれてるけど。もう一回成功だ。おい、生き残って。
An incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
これもうダメ。お、生きれ。
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again.
そうだよ。
Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
あ、これね。リック殴っちゃった。
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky
そう
corridor,
だよ。
won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that
これボ
read
タンじゃないの。
Mind Control Facility.
マインドコントロールファシリティ。スケー。
Although this passageway had the word
Escape is so
escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
ダメだよ、そんなのは。ダメだね、そんな死ぬとこ言われたらね。今度これ降りれ。降りれ。おい。
Nope, still on board with death.
おい、マリオさんこんなんは。よー。昨日も来てくれた。ありがとう。お団子ついてかわいいね。昨日とかにショートだったばかり。違法の死を遂げちゃうらしい今から。おうまい。おうまい。どうやって死ぬのかな。おなんかやばそうな。どうやって非業の死を遂げちゃうんでしょうか、僕は。今から行ってみようと思います。また足降りるかー。近づいていただけ。彼は結局自分の人生には何もなかったなと思いました。そんなことないよ。あれをしたら止めるんじゃないの？ダメか。すごいんだろ、なんでかならん？ならんわ。絶対ならん。絶対ならん、これ。外苑。
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
おお終わりここで。ぽいね、もう僕もいけない。
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
これ誰？あなたは誰ですか？この喋ってる人。
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
最初の部屋だこれ。
Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
確かにね、そう言われてみればそうだ。死ぬのが決まってたことしたらそう。で、これが最初の2つのドア。この2つのドアというセットがかなり初期の段階で、スタンリー・パラベルのデザインの具体的なもの一つとなりました。この部屋を作ることで、その延長線上にゲームの内容が現れ、その部屋がもたらす矛盾を探っていくことになります。飛ぶ棚。飛ぶのこの棚？フライングシレフってことだ。風景画。ボタンの音だ。聞いたことないよ。ボイスのパソコン、誰かなんだっけこれ、消えちゃった。名前が思い出せん、これ。僕がめっちゃちっちゃい時さ、母ちゃんがガラケーでやってた気がする、あのゲーム。なんだ、ソリティア。そう、あれ、ソリティアだ。そして、火の打ちどころのないくらいのナレーターは、エヴァン・ブライティング。メンテナンスだよね。これか、僕が乗っていきたいです、これか。当然地帯。開発当初、私たちはスタンリーがエイリアンと戦場で戦うエンディングをデザインしました。俺。エイリアンベース。私たちは作り始めてすぐに、これはこのゲームのトーンに対し冗談が過ぎるということに気づきました。なるほどね。ウルトラデラックスの発表。オリーブさんよー。こんばんは。なんか、終わっちゃったのかな？1128なんとかが何か教えてくれませんか？サンディが他の部屋に入っちゃったらどうしたんでしょう？サルバドール・ダリ。このゲームはどんだけ、超現実的なんでしょうになる予定なんでしょうか？待って、早すぎる。早すぎる。コングラチュレーションズ。コングラチュレーションズ。ディスゲームわかる。アイプレイで言ってめっちゃ昔。結構さ、これやってる人多いんだ。アパートメントタイマー。このセリフだ。そのまま残るか違う道でジャンプするか。待って、これさ、クリア後コンテンツみたいな感じですか？もしかして。このゲーム、終わっちゃったの？ゼンリングレバー。こんなとこ見てないんだけど、僕。なんだこれ。特殊エンド。なるほどね。リーダムエンド。モニターアルムエレベーター。これ。何これは。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Oh.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Whoa.
But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way.
Escape と終了
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
どこにあるの
Now, and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
待っていいエスケープと終了を押してって言ってたお、なんだ帰ってきちゃった
All of his co-workers were gone.
お
What could it mean?
いつもの
Stanley
声だ
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
んなんかついてるいざとニューコンテンツ
Oh, new content. What does that mean? New content.
待って僕さ正規のエンド
When
まだ
Stanley came to a set of
行って
two
ないから
open
そっち行って
doors,
もいい
he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
ボスのオフィス行っててかこっちも行ってないや
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an
なんだっけ
indication of any human life. What could it mean?
そう
Stanley wondered
なんだっ
aloud
け
to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk,
僕
pulling
は全
books
然
off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose
イエスキャ
be?
ム初いっぱい
In
エンディング
fact,
そう
this keypad
僕も
guided
う
the terrible
どん
secret
ぐらい
that lay
めちゃくちゃ
buried
エンディング
below
みたい
his
なもん
feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number,
あそうだ
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly. Yet incredibly, by simply
ちょっと
pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the
Amazing.
newly opened passageway.
ちゃんと言うこと聞こうとしょうがないからね
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Mind
Mind
Control
Control Facility.
ファシリティ何ですかこれはドカーン
The lights rose on an enormous
Oh.
room packed with television screens. What
テレビジョ
horrible
ンスクリ
secret
ー
did
ン
this place hold?
めっ
Stanley
ちゃスクリーン
thought to
これ
himself.
すごいな
Did he have the strength
ここぐらいはくれません
to
か
find out?
僕もいつもモニター欲しいと思ってたんですよなんだこれいっぱい数字書いてるドカーン
Now the monitors jumped to life.
Whoa.
Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Oh.
Stanley's co-workers.
ファイヤーって
Lives
ことは
of so
解雇
many
するってことは
individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
違うかこの赤いのが解雇された人なの番号ってことかでっかいけどだけで無理かな僕画面見えないかなみんなのコメントを
This mind
見るモニター
control
にしようと思ったけ
facility,
ど
it was too horrible to believe
で
it
かすぎ
couldn't
て
be
ゲーム画面
true.
見えない
Had
みんなのコメント
Stanley
だけ
been
見て
under someone's control
急ぐ
all
でゲー
this
ムじゃん
time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been
Oh,
manipulated
oh,
to
そういう
accept
こと
it blindly?
違うか。こうってことは
No.
Oh.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable.
どこまで行かない
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
でもそうじゃない
Here was
実
the
際
proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content.
モニターって仕事してるって言っ
Eating,
て
working,
モニターに
all
表示される
monitored
数字
and
ずっと
commanded from
ポ
this
チ
very place.
ポチ
And as the
ポ
cold
チって打って
reality
た
of
だ
his
けでさ
past began to
それ
sink
は
in,
操作され
Stanley
てるって嫌なん
decided
だ
that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and
なるほど
for all.
綺麗コンソールディスエイブル使えないらしいなんかぶっ壊すわこうおマインドコントロールス
And when at
待
last
機
he
状態
found the source of the room's power,
入力を
he
待って
knew
い
it
るら
was
し
his
い
duty, his obligation, to put an end
入
to
力
this
待機中
horrible place and to everything it stood for.
システムパワーオフおうこれで
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes.
おおお
He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone?
確か
How
に
had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking,
お
but
ー
happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel.
支配からの
Whatever life he
解
lives,
放ってことは
it will be his. And that was all he needed to know.
すごい
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
お伊藤さんよこんばんは
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
おーそうトゥルーマンショーっぽいけどこれはナレーターの指示通りに僕が「はいはい」って言って動いた結果のエンディングでありますねまこれっきりだよ言うこと聞いてあげんのは
All of his co-workers were gone.
もう
What
ね
could it
僕は
mean?
言うこと聞かないや
Stanley decided to go to the meeting
いい
room.
せっかく言う
Perhaps
こと
he had
聞いたから
simply missed a memo.
最後あれ
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. This was not the correct way
最
to
後
the
まあ
meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
ボスの部屋
Perhaps he
の
wanted to stop
あ
by
っ
the
ち側って
employee
どうなっ
lounge
てんだろ
first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open
あれ
door
待
on
って間違
his
えた
left.
普通に
And so he detoured through the maintenance section Walk straight ahead to the opposite
え、
door
こんなのあ
and
ったっ
got
け？
back on track.
ちょっと待って、もう気になる、気になる、気になる。全部気になる。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
こっちのもう、コア何に繋がってんの？あ、そうだ、なんかあった。塗っていいのこれ。なんか陽気な音楽と光る髪が。なんかこのゲームは僕のナレーションの人に言う通りに僕を動かそうとしたんだけど、それに抗ったり抗わなかったり従ったり従わなかったりするゲームですね。ザスコおパパパージャスコってジャスコはイオンの前のやつ？動かないエレベーター。おえ？じゃあ上は？なんだよ。音楽聴くためだけの場所ってことは。入れんくなったし。なんだよ。
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks.
ジャスコっぽい気かな。ちょっと待って。もう一度はずね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
なんか
When Stanley came to a set of two open
濃いボタン
doors,
のとこ
he
ろちょっ
entered
と
the
気になる
door
か
on
ら行
his
ってみよ
left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
あれ違う。待って。あ、間違えた。ちょっと、間違えました。あっち側行かないと見れないんだ。
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
こっちね。
When Stanley
こっ
came
ち
to
か。
the set of two
なるほ
open
どね。
doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
こっち行って。
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
こっ
left.
ち曲がったとこに、なんか、そう、
And so
これ
he
これ
detoured
何
through
で
the
すかこ
maintenance
れ。
section,
残
walked
ってん
straight
ねこれ。
ahead to the
おったっ
opposite
け？
door, and got back on track.
お、この手書きの壁だこれ。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to
そ
the
う、戻
office.
りたくなかっ
He
た。
wanted to wander about and get even further off track.
うお、
So now, in order
多
to
いとこ
get
来た。
back, he needed to go, from here, it's,
左？
left.
オッケー。
Oh, no.
お、
No, it's to the right. My mistake.
お、なんで？
No,
Oh,
no, no,
待って。
no, not the right.
どっちだ
Why
ろう。
would I have ever said it was to the right?
その時見てよ。
Was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
いいよ、持ってあげる。
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay.
オッケー？
Yes.
はい。
I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this
いい
way.
全然違うじゃん。また赤いとこだよ。大丈夫？本当に合ってる？勝手に変なとこ来といて。 僕が言うのもなんだけど、おお、ここに行くのかよ。あ、わかった、はいはいはい。ちょっと、ネタバレだよ。怒ったよ。怒った、僕は何も見ませんでした。大丈夫、僕何も見てないや。本当に。やだやだ。
And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
僕もう一回くらいやじゃ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
そう、これマジで反抗ゲーム。ナレーターの人を困らせるのが楽しいゲーム。
When Stanley... Wait, what?
待って、どう古すぎ。
No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be...
間違えた、さ、まだ。
Did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monsters? Did you move the story somewhere or...
僕のせいにしないだ。
Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
そうそう。
It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere.
わかった、じゃあ僕もう一回後ろ向いて待ってるから。
Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
どこ行ったもんや。どうこっち。なんか、それこそバックルームズみたいになってる。なんだこれ。なんか出ちゃったけど。みんながあなたをしたことをして。あなたはあなた自身があなた自身を犠牲にするのをやめれば、我慢すればいいだけです。おねえ、なんても嘘は。
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
今度はドアなくなってる。
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this
も
wrong.
う、ちゃんとした。
It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
いいけど。目がいいならいいけどさ。どこも開いてないや。
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
いいのこれで。
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story.
もう、ちょっと一旦落ち着いてよ。
Other way and retrace our steps.
お、怖いとこ来たよ、また。ねえ、大丈夫なのこれ。
Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all.
見覚えないとか来ちゃダメじゃん。
I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
僕に聞かれた
Do you
の。
remember, Stanley? Well, do you know
お、
what?
これ
Since
に
I've
一番この
completely
歌。
forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work.
いやいや
and
いや
it
いや
really
いや。
paid off. So,
おー、
good
適
job.
当すぎるわ。
Oh no.
そう。
No, I don't feel right about
そんなん
this
に
at
適
all.
当に終わらせちゃ
We
ダメ。
both know you
思
didn't
って
put
作
in
った
any
んでしょ、こ
actual
のゲー
work
ム。
for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
もう、今度はちゃんとしてやねん。
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've
なんかさ、
employed the help
僕が
of
悪
the
いみたいに言っ
Stanley
てない。
Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
なんでさ、4B6 なんだろう。すごい、こっち B 側からの初めてかも。
The
え、
line
なんだ
knows
これ。
where the story is.
B だよ、これ。
It's
ち
over
ゃんと
in
書いて
this
た方がいい。
direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
Destiny?
Here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination,
What's
even if
that?
there's no story there? Or to put it another way,
何もな
is
い
the story of no destination still a story.
ノイス
Simply
に
by
あ
the
りが
act
とう
of
が。
moving
なんか
forward,
怒っちゃった。
are we implying a journey such that a destination is
何こっち。
inevitably conjured
これ
into
何
being
これ
via
何
the very manifestation of the nature of
これ聞い
life
たわ。
itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective
こっ
experience
ちは
of
いけなくな
that
ってんの
existence,
おい、いける
right?
じゃん。
Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of
何も
this
ないや。
office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back
う
there.
ん。なんかそ
Well,
んな
I'd
難
like to
しい話じゃ
apologize.
なかったと思うんだ
Not
け
sure
ど。
where I was going with all that.
う
You
ん。
know what? I think what
も
we
っと
need
シンプル
right
に
now
考えた方
is
が
a
いい
bit
や。
of music to lighten the mood.
おお、いいじゃん。ちょっとテンションも上がってきた。ダンダラダダダ、なんだこれ。ダンダンダダンダン。おお、なんだおおおお、迷子になってるけど大丈夫。すっげえほじゃん。10、9、8、7、6、5、0でいいこれ ?5、4、3、2、1。なんだこれ本当に怖くないところ大丈夫？おお。ちょっとうっせえかな。ちょっとうっせえかな。あんまり音楽なくていいや。ミート静かに。
Got the music.
うん。
Go back and look at that fern.
シダ？
Stanley, this fern will be
これ？
very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
はい、わかりました。ジグザグジグザグ。
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No.
お、ほんとだ、帰ってきた。結局。なんか
You
交
didn't
差し
know
ないです。
we're looking for the Stanley
え、
Parable, right?
こっち行ける
The
なんて。
story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
お。
Oh, no, not again.
あ、はい、わ
How
かった
could
わか
you
った
have
わかっ
done this to us? And after we
た。わかったわかった。
trusted
何に
you,
も言いたい。
after
僕何に
everything
も言い
we've
たい。
been
本当に。
through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it.
いいの、何にも
Restart.
言いたい。本当に信じていいのこれ。
You know what,
Oh.
Stanley? I say forget the adventure line.
そう、
What's it ever
そうだよ。
done
ダメ
for
だよ、
us?
こいつのこと
We're
信じた。
intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
何？なんだ？お、こっちは初めてだ。
Now, yes, this is
Ooh.
exciting. Just me and
This
Stanley
is
forging a new
exciting.
path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild.
そんなさ、
Use your
見切り発車しないでくれません。
Whatever it might be, Stanley,
どういう部屋？
I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you
お
again.
ー。
Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
もうちょっと行ってみよう。こいつ今度はさ、ちゃんと案内してくれなかったね。やっぱり信じたね。
Good choice.
おお、
We get
いい
to
ぞ。
make a decision. From here,
そうだ。
the story is in
これがや
our
っぱ原点だよ、
control.
僕らの。
How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
いいえ。
Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere. which means that somewhere the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination
逆向きの矢印を後ろ向きに下がることによって矢印を相殺しません。
Let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley. Our
素晴らしいロジックだ。
awaits.
なんかいいのなんか書いてある。
Hold up, what's this?
どっち入ってもこっちだった。
The
混
confusion
乱エンド。
ending. You're telling me that's what this is?
ジャイアントエ
It's
ン
all
ドって
one
何？
giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game what, eight
Oh.
times? That's really how all this
ついに
ends?
ストーリーがしない。
It's all
え、
determined?
なんてことだ。
So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me?
なんかそれってあれ
Why
み
do
たい。
I get to decide? Why don't I
ジョジョ
get
の
a
ヘ
say
ブ
in
ン
all
ズ
of
とか
this?
みたいで、こ
Is it really?
こに書かれたらもう決ま
No,
っちゃう
it
な。
can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's
もはや
going
ウイ
on.
スはなく、
I
た
don't
だ
want
の
to be
真っ
trapped
暗な
like
空
this.
間。
I
それ
won't
いいな。
restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
I want do it.
And
お
the
お
time return
お
stop.
お、止まった。
Does that mean did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us?
どうす
Will
かね。
something happen? So, okay.
この女の人じゃない。福祉エンディングで喋って
I
た。
guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you
お、びっくりしたわ。いい。おー、なんだよ。で、
all of his
次はどう
coworkers
する
were
の？
gone, what could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply
Oh.
missed a memo.
すごい、本当に最初に戻っちゃった感じがする。ドアも開いてるし。
When Stanley came to a set of two open
Eh.
doors, he entered the door on his left.
でもやってないことってあ
This
る
was
かな？
not the correct way
こ
to
っち
the
で。
meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
あ、
Perhaps he wanted to stop by
電
the
話に出る。
employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open
め
door
っちゃ
on
最
his
初の
left.
方にたどり着いたところで暗い場所に電話があるんだけど、その電話にちょっと出てみよう。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
ダンディ、あなたが忘れてしまった人がいるんです。これが多分電話の人のことなんだと思う。
I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your
そうだ
life.
ね。
She's been waiting.
それで電話に出る。
That's her, Stanley.
早い。
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go.
あのエレベーター
Now,
だ。
I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
こい
I'm
つ。
trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come
Money.
inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
ひどい。
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
死んだの僕。
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
G.
Look at him there, pushing buttons,
お、
doing
本当だ。
exactly
言わ
what
れ
he's
た通
told
りに
to
ボタン
do.
押しちゃってる。
Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
おー。押すしかない。J とこ押しちゃうから。ダメだ。
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk,
つろりくま。
Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
ひどい。いい。
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
見えない
First,
し。
he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
少年たちそうすためにいる。
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
G.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an
この
enormous
ゲームの
round
説
room
明。
with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions.
これなんで
And down
商
another
標
was
つ
a
いてんの
game with a baby.
そ
And
う
he
そう、
called
おっ
it
た。
the Stanley Parable.
え
It was such a
この
wonderful
クソゲーをスタンリー
fantasy.
パラ
And
ベ
so
だっ
in
た
his
の。
head, he relived it
赤ちゃんが
again
火の中に
and
飛び込むゲー
again
ム。
and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just
まさ
one
に。
more time.
あなたの妻に愛を伝えるために C を押してください。
But there is
マ
no
ネキンだけ
answer.
だね。
How
お
could there possibly be?
そんな。
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has.
よ、あ、
Nothing
ノ
has
イツさん
changed.
よ。
The
あ
longer
な
he
たの部屋マ
spends
ネ
here,
キン
the
置い
more
てなかった。
invested he gets.
よ、
The
なんか
more he
ね。
forgets which life
あ
is
な
the
た
real
の
one.
大切な人に、そう、あなたの妻に会いに行くのですみたいな感じで言われて、この部屋に来たら、ブップ、ブップ、お前に妻なんている
And
わ
I'm
けない
trying
じ
to
ゃ
tell
ん。
him this,
マネキン
that
で
in
したって
this
された
world
と
he
ころ
can
ですよ。
never be anything but an observer.
ひど
That
い。
as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
押しちゃダメなの？押しちゃダメって言われたら押したくなるよね。
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to.
やるのって
But
言わ
I
れた
don't
ら
make
やり
the
たくなる
rules.
ね。
I
僕は。
simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll
い
try
や、
once
役出して
more
は
to
文
convey
系
all
に
this
出
to
た
him.
よ、僕。
I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see.
わかるよ。
Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button.
どい。どい。どい。ディーパーじゃん、ディーパー。お、入ってきちゃった。
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing?
じゃあ、ニューコンテンツかな。
New content? What does that mean, new content?
こっち行けないの。 おおうまい。おー。なんだこれ。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
ウッドデラック
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
2013年、マジ11年前じゃん。
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a
なんだこれ。
reimagining of the game for
キラキラ
consoles
キラ
and
キラ。
home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
ニューコンテン
Please
ツ。
step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the
な
Stanley
んかちょっ
Parable
としょぼそうだけど
Ultra
大丈夫か
Deluxe.
な。お、いた。
Well, this sounds delightful.
いちゃん
I'm
こ
very
ワクワ
excited
ク
to
し
see
た
the
い。
thrilling new
可愛すぎる。
ultra deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
上にも行かないし、下にも行かないってこと？
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
なんか、君がこんなに意気込んでる時ってあんましうまくいかないんだよね。大丈夫そう？
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if the...
嘘だな。
Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right. All right, let's see.
Jump circle.
It's the jump circle.
なんだよこのクソゲー。おい。僕27個目ジャンプし
Is
ない
that
よ。
it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness.
バカにしないでいただきたい。
Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and
エ
jumping.
レベーターと
Is
ジャ
this
ンプだ
what
け。
passes for
エキサイティング
exciting
な
new
新コンテンツっ
content?
ていうの
If
は
this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new
20
content
時間
right
分の
there.
新コンテン
I
ツ。
could
そうは
count
ない。
to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
いい
Now
1000
with
時
over
間すごい。
1,000 hours of
僕
new
まだ
content.
オーチ1000時間多分
Oh,
やって
wait.
ないと思う。
There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else.
もうさすが
Let's
に
see it.
ジャンプサークルで終わりだったらもうほんとに。え、
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
そんなに怒んないや。
It's my fault, Stanley.
楽しい
I
よ
built
僕。
up too
これ
much
だ。
anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is
お、
really about.
いいよ。
No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.
結局は僕は君と喋ってるだけでおもろいんだよ。このゲーム。お。まるっきり変わっちゃった。I hate Monday みんなそう。みんなそう。お
Stanley, come over here.
何
In the vent. I want to show you something.
コーヒーになった。なんだ。危なくないで言うね。怒っちゃった。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special
Oh,
and
oh.
tucked it away here where the
Nanda?
game's developers won't find it.
思いっ
Just
きり
our
交通だ。
little secret. Take a look.
おー、
I
す
call
ごい
it。the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak
Yeah.
experiences of my life whenever I
すごいじゃん。
want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
メモ
You
リー
see,
スイート
Stanley,
メモリ
doesn't the
ー。
memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley
Steam-
Parable was
Steam
before
page
it
だ。
was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of
すごい。
2013 when the game originally launched?
なん
Back
か賞
then,
もらったん
video
だ。
games had
おー、これ。
integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
グッドタイムス。
Waste.
ガイアフォックさんスタートページと書いて。どんだけ、すごい、2013年のポストカード売ってるよ。どんだけ思い出にすがりすぎてない？大丈夫？ Don't forget. おー。なるほどね。スタンリー・パラブル博物館ってことに。うわ。デモンストレーション。お、実績だ。実績飾ってる。のみに、おー。そうなの？ロサンゼルスタイムズにも載ったんだ。大体そういうのってニューヨークじゃないの？あ、リトルスタンディ。うわ、なんだこれ。
Is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all.
そ
It
う、
isn't even the
嘘
Stanley
だ。
Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour
個
of
々の
new
栄光にすがっ
elevated
ちゃってる
content.
っていうこと？それを君は批判したいの？もういくらある？なんでもいくらあるの？これで。これポータルだ。メモリーゾーンメンテナンス。オリジナルリメイク。え、どれ？おー。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of
このエンディングがめっ
choice
ちゃ好き。
in
これ、
games, and one that offers
エ
some
ロ
of the
ック
most
ス
enjoyable, surprising,
な
and
んとかの
rewarding
エンディン
choices
グ。
I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left
マインクラフトエンディングまだ見えない。見えない。マインクラフトエンディングなんかあるの？マジ？お、置いとくけどそっち行けなくない？ちょっと待って。そっち置いとくけどいけないよ。全然ほら。そうだね。知りをする。いけなかったら、はい。
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back
置いてる。
to have it all over again. Wait, hang on.
何
I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write out a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
あんまりさ、そういうアンチコメントとかに気にしない方がいいよ。ほんとに。バッドボタンとかね、気にしたら負け。もっと飾ってりゃ、もうね、忘れた方がいい。そういうの。お。アイデアはいいんだけどね、まあまあまあまあまあ。
Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can.
教えよ、正直できたら。
It's actually quite shocking for me.
まあ積極臭いっていうかまあ話は長いなって。不愛想だな。
Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't.
ちょっとね、ほんのちょっとだけ話長いなと思うよ。正直。見事正直に言って言ったんだ。
Like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I've always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that.
まあそうね、できるけど、そうやる意味ないよね、実はね。そんなことね。
Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record.
そんなことね。だって、君の喋りが気に入らないならね、他のゲームやればいいんだ。そういうことがね、分かってない。そんな評価を書く人は。いらないよ、そんなの。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go.
全然君の言うこと無視しようとかそんなね、そういうことじゃないよ。まあ気にしたなって。どんなレビュー。そう、喋りすぎなところがいいね。ニラさんも言ってるよ。ね。
Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes.
だから、君の悪いところをさ、見るやつより、君のおしゃべり好きな人がいるっていうから、そういう人の話も聞くべきだよ。ね。ごめん。12時間喋ってたのに君。
I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door.
僕が12時間飛ばしてる間にそんなことしてくれたんだ。
There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back.
推測
Oh
して
my
る。
goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a
え、
week,
そんなに経ったん
2 weeks. I've been.
お、
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time.
どんぐらい経っ
I
たん
stopped keeping track.
1年後
after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly.
よくなっちゃったどうだゲームもう止まってるや。あ、もう枯れちゃった。お、これこれだね。これ持ってきたりいけないな。眠くなっちゃったかもな、レター。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough.
ひどくなった。共に現れるんだ。なんでこう嘘は出てきてくれるかも。
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never
Oh.
the end, is never 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 the end.
これなんか最初に書いてた文字だ。
The end is never the end,
The end is never.
the end.
雨降ってる。雨漏りしてる。うわ。倒壊しちゃった。そのうち建物が崩れたら出れるかもね。お。いた。おー。幻想的。おり、元止めになってる。なんで何があったの？All this from one comment saying skip ボタン欲しい。ね。スキップボタン欲しいとか言っちゃダメだよ、ほんとに。こんなことなんだよ、だって。お。うわ。宝石の国みたいになってる。で、これ終わっちゃった。まだ薄れ。もう押せないかも。 あ、フーバーさんよー、こんにちは。お、終わっちゃった？これ。お、
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
これ
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ニューコンテンツ。
Oh, good. You noticed my
うん、
sign.
気づい
Yes,
た。
I have something very exciting to show you.
オッケー、今度こそね。ニューコンテンツ。今のエンド初めて見た。なんかニューコンテンツらしいや。おー。今度こそね。
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
おー。2。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few
In
minor
resource
additions?
showcase.
Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have
どこにも
truly
行ける
been
のか。
asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic
言っちゃ悪い
statement.
けど、そんな違うんけ。
It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
もうすげえかっこいいじゃん。
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features
いい
I've
ね
been。
これ写真
developing
とか
for
撮っ
it.
ちゃったりして。
I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts,
お
then
ー、す
surely
ごい
the
すご
game
い。
will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
The button that says the name, the player that is playing. ゲームプレイしてるプレイヤーの名前を言うボタン。
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first... Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim,
オブジェクトを作り込み進行感じで。どうすかね
seizing all of the world's
シダとかで
possibilities
全
as
然綺麗にな
Jim,
ってる。
and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name.
もう実際そうだよ。
Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
パソコンがこんな薄型になってるのに進化を感じる。
Playing frisbee on the weekends as
そこ
Jim. Staying up all
分
night for
厚
a
いパソコン
popcorn
だ
and
った
horror
ね。
movie sleepover. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. You happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
ここには何があるの
Maybe I'll only let
お、
people
すご
named
い。
Jim play the Stanley Parable
え、
too.
やめ
They
てよ、
would
そんな。
appreciate what I've created here.
何これは。エピローグ。 リシュアランスバケット。セッティングワールドチャンピオン。これもどうかないや。無限の穴。フリーニューイージーアチーブメント。うるされば、リシーブヨアニューアチーブメント。もう実績を勝手に取れちゃうってことだ。
broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel. To at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
じゃあ、要するに、つまりは、全然まだできてないってことには。ねえ、そういうこと？
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
ジャンプさ、これまたあれよ。27回。僕が残してきた回数だ、あれ。なんだ。こんだけしかないな。出口だ。この建物はめっちゃいいね。なんだ、2位全然できてないじゃん。できたら呼んでよ。
Oh goodness, Stanley, this is very awkward. I hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to both the exhibits for the bucket and the collectibles. You see, there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves both of them. And I really do hate to break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the collectibles and the bucket. Okay? All right, I'll get out of your hair now.
ノースクリーンショット。
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
いけないや。あ、待って、今教えるってことだ。じゃあ、こっち。
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get well someday it is.
もういいけど。
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
なんかバケツのとこに行けって言われた。
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical. That it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind.
そうかな。ちょっともうわかんないや、僕に。
Many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution.
なんかイライラしたバケツ抱きしめときゃってこと。こいつ。
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable too.
ボケツ持っていた
Does
ら
anyone give out awards for most
何になるっ
enjoyable
てんな。
bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
ジャンプサークル無限な。これか。Can you find them?
Ah,
おー、なんだこれ。
now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's
ミニチュア
truly
スタンディ兵器
is
を
that there will be no
全部
reward
集めたとこ
for
ろに報酬じゃ
collecting
な
all
い。
of them. I don't want to
こ
stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
お、スタンディこんな子なの。
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it.
いいぞ、報酬もらえるならさ。
Tragic.
とにかくまあ、にはまだできてないってことでしょ。おったよ。なんだ連れてってるよ、これ。すごい、いいよ、なんかデザイン。なんだ、ここ。
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there
お
somewhere.
う、頑張って
Say,
よ。
let's do an experiment.
い
I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
なんだ
Okay.
なんだ
Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the
え、
Stanley
できてんの
Parable 2.
なんだよ、早く。
Well, I mean, there's
え
potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes.
え、まあまあまあね。あれ、あれで、
Better. I feel
2とは用事なんやろか。
Here we go. Version 2.
そんな、そんな。
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of
ま
the
あ、
first
そんな
game.
急いでない
I
から
want
さ、僕。
fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't
いやいや、
stand on
みん
their
な君の
own.
こと好
They
きだ。
would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and
Oh.
simply, well, insert a
そう
few
だ
of
ね。
my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up.
ちょっと作っていいんや。
All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
おはあ、なんか始まったわ。
This is the story of a man named
あ
Stanley.
ー、これも見たからね、僕これ。おー、
All
お
of
ー、
his co-workers were
この
gone.
風船追
What
加
could
され
it
て。
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
バケツある。
Stanley picked up the bucket.
おお。で、どっかに人形あるんだ。え、通気じゃー。お、ニューコンテンツなくなってる。通
Stanley
気
clutched
じ
the
ゃ
bucket
ー。
tightly to his chest and entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling
バ
to
ケツ
him,
が彼は
telling
ね、
him
激薄
that
の
the
さ。
employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the
どういう
meeting
こと
room? Yes,
おぎつの
Stanley
話なん
thought
て
to himself. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
人形ないや。
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the
そう、
bucket
確かに
walked
人気だ
upstairs
け
to the
ど、
boss's office.
ほぼ一緒じゃん。スタンリーパラベルと一緒。
You found one of them.
Oh.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for
あ、そっ
collecting
か、
all
欲
of
しないん
these.
だ。
Only
うん
the
だ。
intrinsic pleasure of a job well
なん
done.
だ、
You
欲しないじ
can't
ゃ
buy
ん。
that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one
ま
of
あ
these
でも、
beautiful
補充は全てじゃない
figurines.
からね。そうだよ。ここね。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this
なんだっけ、
revelation,
番号
Stanley
よ。
may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even
違った。
now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark, but Stanley guessed the
お、
correct
待
code
ってた。
by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
もうバケツが、
Yes,
僕バケ
this
ツ
is
に
certainly
導
the
かれた
most
ことになってんだ
logical
が。
explanation.
なんだい。お、やったー。
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley
も
things.
う、なんでもいいや、名前
What
は。
about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
これ一緒なのかな、エンディングまでは。
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself
いや、
together,
そんな
if
こと、
not for the bucket.
そんなことない
Soothing
けど
him,
な。
comforting him, reassuring
バ
that
ケ
in
ツって
this
そんなに
darkest moment
安
of
心
uncertainty,
材料で
he
すか
would be
ね。
all right. The
わかんない
bucket
や。
is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
何これ。
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
これ、このまま行っちゃっていいのかな。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both
ソニー
wondered
と
to
バケツ。
themselves.
もう、一緒か、今んとこ全然。
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the
Oh.
bucket in shock.
なんかあれ。
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very
バ
nearly
ケツは
burst
こんな
into
こと初
tears
めてね。
as Stanley cradled it
ま
gently,
あ、そうだ
reassuring
ね。
it
僕は
that
まあ初めて
everything
じゃ
would
な
be
いから。
fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it
バ
didn't
ケツは
wish
何
to
も
do?
望んでないだろ。
What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's
おい、よいよし頭とか言うな。
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own
僕が
life in
バケツの
someone
中に
else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the
もうそう
entire
か、
world.
結局妻もいなかったからに
He could
なんか
trust
胸キュン
no
だったし。
one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the
これ
cold
語彙
reality
が
of
あ
his
るの。お、
past
な
began
んかある
to
な。
sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible
俺を
power
読んだ。
over another human life. for he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two
こ
best
れいけない。
friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
え、あれ上どうやっていいかな。1、2、3。お、開いてないからね、なんか上に行けない。なんか右下に書いて。わかんない。
When at last they came
文字
to
が
the
ちすぎ
source
て。
of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was. But at the last second,
うん、
the
嘘だ。
bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror.
Oh.
Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this?
最初に1回目来た
Stanley
時
was
僕
prepared to
オフを
throw
したん
the
ですけ
bucket
ど。
away in disgust when suddenly
お、
an image
何？
appeared upon the enormous screen.
い
Birds. Silly, silly birds.
お抜きの
The
人
control
たち。
buttons became active again.
CD バーズ。うん、どういうこと？
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a
マインド
mind
コントロール
control
施設
facility at
残
all.
ったのこれ。
It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a
お、怖い。
facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hand, the one
この
who
バ
had
ケツのこ
pointed
と？
him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place,
え、
living through
そうな
live
の？
streams of the
あら
silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the
お、
best.
怖い。
And Stanley was happy.
モテってるサンディの仕事もこんなもんだったから。あ。ミーティングトゥデイ。あれさ、バケツ持っていかなくても、
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
なんか方向変わって。バケツ持っていかなくても
Stanley
あのエ
lifted
ン
the
ドだったの
bucket
かな。
into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
ねえ、何これはずっとさ。え？ Oh, we can find them. おー。オフィス中に現れる。お。お。ベッドルーム。おー。お、フィル、クロスくんか。よー。ほんざ。結局さ、この人形を探さないといけないってことだ。似てなさすぎだよ、どう考えても。あ、ラジラム。ウッドボックス。階段。 で、赤と青のどっか。ここいっぱいある。おっきな部屋。階段のどっか。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
でもね、ここね、怖い。あ、おったおった。
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates
シ
the
リンの意味が
intrinsic
ファニーっ
sense
ぽ
of
い。
happiness
俺もソ
that
ウ
you
ルエ
get
ン
from
ジング
seeing a
セン
small
シオ
number
ハ
in
ル
the
さ。
corner
あ
of、your screen go up by one? Let
え
me
ー。
sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
じゃあバケツ持ってなかったらあのエンディングって違ったのか。チェストがいっぱいある大きい部屋ってどこだ。こことかはない。帰れなくなって。ちょっと一回、リストアウトして、最初の方からさ、
All
あ
of
れ
his co-workers were gone. The confusion and the chaos
なんだ
all
っけ。
seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
元の子変わってるくない。おい。ホワイトボードエンディング。雑すぎんか、さすがに。
Stanley clutched the bucket
ここいっ
tightly
ぱいあ
to
る、
his
大きな部
chest
屋。
and entered the door on his left. This was
ここ
not
どっ
the
けな。
direct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
で、あとなんだっけ。
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and
赤
walked
と
straight
青の、
ahead to the
あ、
opposite door.
帰れなくなった。赤と青の場所はこれ降りたらどうなるんだっけ。
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
ああ、
We've come together here because we
なんだ
care
一体。
about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The
文字
bucket
変わっ
isn't
てる。
even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content.
この子つんだ。
We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the adventure line and the broom closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
もうそれは
Yes,
さ。
I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new.
Ooh.
Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
あ、もういいよ、その音楽は。うっせえから。
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all
Oh.
those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
なかった、なかった、そんな。
It's as classic
な
now
かっ
as
た、な
it
かっ
was
た。
back then. Let's do
そ
it
ん
for
な
the
ジョーク
fans,
聞いてない
Stanley.
僕は。
Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
なんだ文字見たことないとこ来
Don't
て
you
る。
get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket.
え
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
そんな。ダメ
I
だよ。
think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the
Indus'un
original
yo,
game, but it's such a
bunca-
well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast
おい、父さんお
all
や
along.
すみ。
Don't you agree?
またね。え、ダメだ
Can
よ
you。guess what
無
the
血
Bucket
壊
Destroyer
さ。
does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
なんか、埋められないこれ。
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your
bucket.
Destroying buckets is
そんな脅しあんまりだよ。
That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I
超えれない
hear
ぜ。
you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush
ダメだ。
buckets
止めらん
is
な
so
い。
densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the adventure line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
おお。あ。バケツディストロイヤーが宙を持っている。
Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you.
GG.
All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
おー、帰ってきたわ。まあ別にバケツに思い入れとかないからあげてもよかったけど。俺、最初戻ってるよこれ。チェストがいっぱいある部屋。持っとくか、一応ね。
With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
いやなんかね、チェストがいっぱいある部屋って僕知ってると思うんだよ。いや、赤と青が両方ある部屋も分かる。実はね。What's up?
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room.
Bucket
Go
said it
somewhere
did.
else. The cargo lift, yes. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking.
What's on?
It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact.
What's up?
He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
お、なんだおお。え
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and
Is
you'll
this
tell me
a
whether or
bucket?
not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
ほい。
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket,
はあ、なんだ
not
そ
an
れ。
actual bucket.
おかしいよ。
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
じゃあ、はい。
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
こいつ。なんだよ、どういうこと？
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
今度こそこんな正解だ。お、
Correct.
やったわ。
This is a
まあ
bucket.
ね。
Item 4.
これで
Is this a
え、
bucket?
絶対違うよ、こんなの。
Correct.
もう
This
さ
is
すが
a
に。
tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this
飲
might
み
be
すぎだろ、
too much.
僕のこと。
Thank you
どこ
for
行っ
not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
お父さん、ダズンとのバケツと一緒に違うよ、こいつが、なんか、これをホログラムで作ったバケツですね、みたいな。すごい。
Incorrect. This is a
お、
bucket.
どこが？え、もう稼ぎよ、こいつは絶対に。
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
そう。
Trick question.
え？
Both.
どういうこと？
Gotcha. Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be
まあ、
around
な
here
いなら
somewhere.
いいよ、別に。無理して出さなくても。違う。お、
Yes.
やったわ。
Thank you. There's nothing
もう
here.
ありません。
Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless,
難しい、
is
難
that
しい。
what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you
バケツい
believe
っぱいだ
everything
と
is a
信じてって
bucket?
言いたいんですか？そう。
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out.
まあ、一旦落ち着い
I've
てほし
lost
い。
all sense of perspective.
Hmm.
What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago, I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet
ギス
now
トル
I'm
ト崩
somewhat
壊ってや
adrift.
つ？
Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
そう。Yes, yes.
Stanley, I can't keep doing
お、
this.
止め？
I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have
やっ
that.
ぱり
I'm
バケツ
sorry,
アンチ。
but I'm going to erase all buckets from the
そんな。
game entirely. Okay, here we go.
え？あ、
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket?
い、
Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my god, I had no idea.
そうなの。
How could
2はもうバケツでできたゲームだったっ
I'm
てこと
not
だ。
a bucket after all? And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either.
そう。
Oh, this is
君と
wonderful
僕以
news.
外が
We're not
バケツじゃないもののすべて。
Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else,
結
maybe
局
don't
すべては
mention
バケ
that.
ツなの。
Who
じゃあ、
knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
おー。また帰ってきた。ちょっとじゃあバケツなしで、
Someone was following
もう一回
Stanley.
おっつ
He
ま、
was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
何がついてきてるの？片越しに確認ってどうやって？難しいよ、
When
そうやって。
Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps
Oi,
he wanted to
プロ
stop
ゲーム
by
始
the
まった。
employee
いい
lounge
ね。
first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he
バ
wasn't
ケツ持ってな
5
かった
years
ら
ago.
いけるんですよ、こっち。
Look, Stanley, I
ちょっ
think
と一
perhaps
定
we've
人形
gotten
ある
off
か
on
ど
the
うかだ
wrong
け見た
foot
い。
here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
ちょっとね、覚えてないんだよな、でも。
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
で、青い方に行ったら、
Perhaps you misunderstood.
なんかあったと思
Stanley
う。
walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road? You've chosen well. Don't let me stop you.
お、そっか、ここ何もないんだ。待って、でもこれなのか。行くしかない。
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms,
その
exposed
心とかないんかって遠回しに言われて役がつき。
Was it worth
め
ruining
っ
the
ちゃ翻
entire
訳いい
story
よ
I'd
ね、この
written
ゲー
out
ム。もう
specifically
原
for
文
you?
読んでるわけじゃないか
Do
ら
you
わ
not think
かん
I
ない
put
け
a
ど。
lot of time into that? Because I
め
did.
ちゃめちゃ大
And
変
in
だ
the
ろうな
end,
と
it
思う。
was all
この
for
文章
nothing.
量。
Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
いや、違うな。このルートじゃないな。忘れちゃった。チェストはいっぱいある部屋ってどこだっけな。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
これちゃんと読んでみよう。これが、ラージラン、ロッツオブボクシーズ。チェストじゃないのか。箱がいっぱいある部屋。箱がいっぱいある部屋どこ？わかんないや。ここいっぱいある部屋。すごい。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
待って、でもここ登っていったら、もうこっちのエンディング来るしかない。
Stepping into his manager's office.
都合か。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Stanley picked up the
一応
bucket
バ
and
ケツの
smiled.
とか。
He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
あ
Was
と
this
はあれかな。
Never mind. The
向
bucket
こう
was
の
wrong.
電話線の下り
Stanley
の
took
と
the
こ
door on
が。
his left to go back to the meeting room.
待って、箱がいっぱいある部屋って。
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite
あ
door.
都合か。待って、帰ってきちゃった。結局ね。うまい。 カーゴルーム。カーゴルームってあそこだよね。ちょっと。カーゴルームで見た？本当に？
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
珍しくめっちゃバケツについて
Stanley
喋っ
took
て
the
くれ。
door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
カーゴルームって
No,
Said the bucket.
ここだよね。
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the
ほら
cargo
ほら。
lift.
お、そんな。
And there it is. The
おお。
last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley.
ノイ
This
ズ
is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the
別に
sake
報
of
酬じゃないん
doing
だっ
it.
けこれそ
Where
ね。
so many people expect to be
まあいいけ
rewarded
ど。
for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a
そうだ
job
ね。
well
仕事を
done
成し
is
遂げる
its
こと
own
自体が報
reward.
酬である。
I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we
温度
can't
積
have
んでる
that.
か？
So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
オッケー。これなんかね、そこに、なんか道があるから、ちょっとこれ行きたいな。はっ！え、どこ？これは。うわ。なんだこれ。うわ。
Okay.
Oh,
This is
no
day
need to-
number 295. Tape number. I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense.
もうやめろよ、バケツの研究は。
The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it
なんて
down,
恐ろしいバケツだ。
it doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so. What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it.
え？
It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay
そ
for
んな
even
に。
just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even
うわ、
now,
こう
I
ネ
don't
ジが
know
襲っ
who
た
might be trying to get me.
クレイジーな目に見えてきた。
What's that? Who's there? Camporata.
なんだクンボラーだ。なんだ。バ バケツになんかやっぱり謎が隠されてる。お、終わった。いや
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on
Oi.
things. It's
No.
just, it's those figurines,
うん
those figlets.
僕が
I
集めたや
haven't
つね。
stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your
いや
entire
いや
life?
まあ、
Didn't it fill you to the brim with
そう言ってあげる
richness?
こともまあでき
Yes,
な
I
くも
know
なく
we're
もない。
supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with
お、
one
いいよ
more
ね。
trip back
全
to the
然。
memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines.
それは良いよ。
Just one more time.
いちょーい。フィギュリーンズいるの？こっち？おー。そうそう、心に始まった。
The
そうだ
first
そうだ。
collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again,
こ
Stanley.
れね。え？何のコメント入れちゃった？怖いな、これ横にいたら。お。え？お、そうそうそう。2個目はここだっ
And
た。
here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the
人聞き悪いな。
boss's
人
bathroom.
聞き悪いな。
You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest.
つ
Back
き
then, I
回す
had
のいい
no
よ、全
faith
然。
in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to
まあ、
surprise
僕
me in
も
all
そんな見
sorts
つ
of
けるつもりなかったけど
mundane,
ね。だ
unremarkable ways.
って意味ないってやなもん、君が。
Okay, let's do a little
お
quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
え、こっちはないの？ここだよね。
No, 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 no. Under the stairs was the fourth
Oh,
place you found
so,
the Figanli,
come here.
not the third. Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what?
Okay.
If under the stairs feels like the third place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
お、上行かない。
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figly in this pink room. Oh well,
Eh?
I can't actually say I remember being in this
そうよ、
room,
僕
but
そんなの
it's
知ら
here
ない
in
よ。
the memory zone, so it must have happened.
え、すごい、すごい。僕こんなとこで撮ってないや。記憶が捏造されている。
This was the fifth mini stand, and this one was really something
これ
special.
ね。
It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the
え
occasion.
そんな。
Enjoy.
こんな4対3のガビガビ画質に誰と誰だよ。まあそうだね。おー、パチパチパチパチ。
Takes you back, doesn't it?
いや
I
ま
spent a
あ
lot of
ほんの
time making
20
that
分前
video,
ぐらい
but
の
it
こと
was
だけ。
8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
おい。こっちか。お、そうそう。
And then,
そこで撮った
Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here in the warehouse. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other, except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
何？どこがどうなったん？色になってる。おー。
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, Memory Zone.
Goodbye, Memory Zone.
No, I'm not done.
まだ？
I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the Memory Zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
もういいけど。戻る。
Okay, yes. This spot in the warehouse.
何？もしかしてもうコンテンツないの？
I would say of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more.
戻るん？また？怖いよここ。
And here's where I made that video.
覚えてるよ。さっき見たよ、んで。甘い。早送りするぐらいなのにさ、んで。
I love that video.
僕も大好きだよ。そのビデオ。これだけはね、マジで。そうそうそう、覚えがない僕。うん。僕もいい部屋だと思う。
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
でもね、これを本当に僕覚えてないや。違う、あったあったあった。お、行けなくなって。あったわ、暗いところか。そうだそうだ。
This was our second figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
ここに帰ってくるんだ。おお、全部集めた。お
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on.
そうだよ。
I remember hating it back then.
一番ひどいやつ。
Time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite... Oh, yes! The two doors! Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
最初の部屋ね。
And before everything else, there was your office.
入ってきちゃった。
Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office?
それより先はもう。
There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
ないよ。あとはなんか言語選ぶとかぐらい。
I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was...
そうなの？
I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions, he would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
もう全然ナレーションの感じが変わって。これいいのこのルートで。待ってバケツ持ってないけど。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
これさ、なんか番号してないのかな？番号のボタンあってんにさ。
Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
なんかあるのか。なんか音がさ、おーなってきた。おなってきが悪い。でもだからどうってわけじゃないかこれ。01じゃんね。ゼロがある？ゼロはないよね。5しかない。わかんない。とりあえず、ちょっと行ってみるか。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
これ、こっち押すか。
Oh, Stanley. Didn't just activate the controls. After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley. I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off. And leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood.
え、
You're gonna
3じゃないのこれ。
I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
待って、これ、展開新しすぎて。
Come up with on the next go around
ついていけない。
even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left.
あ、待って、これはさすがに終わったかい。
You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why
あ、ありがとう。
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow.
いいおテンプル。すごい。
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stan?
どういうこと
This video game can be beaten? One soul?
あ、待って、わかんないわかんない。
What your purpose in this place is?
ちょっと待って。あ、置いて置いて。
Quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking
これ、
away to
1421って
You're
こと
only
だ
still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
お、待って、まずいまずい。
Until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it
え、ダメじゃん。これ、どうすんの本当に。
part of the joke. And believe me, I will be
あ、
laughing at every
やばい。
second of
終
your
わる。
inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say
あ、
happily
あ。
ever up.
ええ、ちょっと待って。わかんないわかんない最後。どういうことだリスタートってこうライトだ。それはね、もうやったんだよ。やったんだけど、それでいいの。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps. Where are we going today? The
待って、こ
bucket
れ、
asked.
バケツいない。
Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his. This
バケ
was
ツ持
not
っていったら
the
変わ
correct
ってる
way
っ
to
て
the
こと
meeting
か
room.
な。
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
思って。
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the
お、
top.
本当だ、
There's
言ってる
something
わ、
up
ここ
there
で。
I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket
確かに、バ
asked.
ケツ持ってから唯一行ってないの、ここ。
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
これ、ここか。
Now pick up the phone. Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really
ボタンとか爆発みたいなやつは関係ないエンディング。
Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds, no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences double laughter and even triple laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence and will very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
なんか趣旨が全然ブリブリだった最後。
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no
全くその通りだっ
matter.
た
I
んだ。
think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So, with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along,
お
let's
ー、
head
なる
back.
ほど。あれ？お、なるほど。
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
多分僕、バケツを持ってやるべきじゃなかったのかな。なんかそんな気がする。 はい。
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Oh.
What? We're back at the phone
Oh.
already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this.
So,
There
so,
was supposed
so
to be a
だけど。
build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit, which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke was
ほん
never
びっくり
there.
したわ。
Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room.
いや、
What
そんな
an
ことないよ。
egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of
俺
Comedy.
は
I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling
うわ、
wolf.
そんな
I
気に
think,
しないで自分のこと。
I think I need to go
いや、
back
いや、
and
いや、いや、いや、
watch
見なく
that
ていいや。
instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
Huh?
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to
Okay,
a set
okay,
of
okay.
two open doors, they
よかっ
entered
た、
the
教
door
育
on
ビデオ
the
もう一
left.
回見ることにならなくて。おお、元だよ。
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
お、一緒になって。
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
じゃあ、
No.
言うことを聞くから。
You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone.
え
Did
だ
you
って、
not even look at
ダ
the
メだったじゃん。
instructional video? I think this was all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your
怒っちゃった
fault,
わ。
Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed
そ
at
んな、
every one of our
そ
meetings
んな
from
に。
now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint.
お、
Are you proud of yourself for
いけな
bringing
くな
me
っちゃっ
down,
た。
Stanley? Are you proud?
お、
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as
お、
though
出
all of
た。
your other most prized possessions
ああ、そうだそうだ。
pale
こ
in
の終わり方したわ。
comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over
これ、
how unabashedly
これで
in
よか
love
った
with
の。
the bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar. No.
ちょっと待って、エンデ
Getting
ィング
away from
で
making
見て
fun
み
of
ろ。
Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see. Let's see.
ちょっと、これエンディング多すぎて、普通に見切れんな。これ、何が正解とかないな、特に。おー、本エンディング。それって僕が見たやつじゃなくてかな。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
お、
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
多分ね、それ、見たよ、僕。違ったかな。 まあ、なるほど。ちょっと、エンディング見ようと思ったら多分無限にあるから、まあ僕のスタンリーパラブルはちょっと、ここまでということにしておこうかなと思います。結構見たよ。これどんだけ見たとか。見れないかな。実はどんだけエンディング見たとかは別に見れないか。結構多分見たと思います。After the video, this go to right door. Right door? ちょっと待って。もうこれじゃあそれ言ってみるか。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meet good bucket.
さっきのコメディックタイミングビデオ
A bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind.
ちょっとそれだけ見て終わろうか。
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
多分トゥルーエナ
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact.
ライト
He
ド
was
アある。
firmly convinced that the bucket had
そ
spoken
う
to
か。
him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
この
Stanley
この
once
ドアじゃ
again
なくてってこ
obeyed
とだよね。
blindly.
Not this door. ここに
Now pick
ドア
up
が
the
出るってこと
phone.
だ。
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back.
Whoa, hold on.
抜い
Why
て
did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was
ここ
joking.
にドアが出る
Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to
The
do
door
things.
will
Buckets
appear
can't
ってこと
talk.
かな
It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I
あ
have paused
また
for
ジョークビデオ
longer
始
or
まる。
spoken quicker?
ジョークビデオ始ま
Comedic timing
る。
is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it
ちょっともう一
last?
回調べてみな。
How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary.
わ
When
から
the
んかも
joke。has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, I'm Dunny with the funny. Let's practice screaming, I'm Dunny with the funny now. Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal,
いや、多分そう、一緒だよ。ライトドア入った。そういうことか。いや、ライトドア。I went to ライトドア。That's not the true ending です、多分。
Godspeed and may Earth reign supreme.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So, with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
一緒多分、そう。一緒。I saw this ending.
This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now.
お、足場、このエンディングに向かったらもう足場なくなるんだ。いいえ。
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
.これでここまで帰ってきてこっちのドアに入ろうってことでさ。
When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
I went to this door. また、ある。
No, what's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone.
そうなの？
The timing's completely off.
トゥルーエンディングってどのエンディング？
And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my... Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Yo, そう、多分。わかんない、それは。わかんないです、それは。一緒だもん、これ、こう言っても。
We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
こっちも入るでしょ？
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
よ。一回ね、左に入ったら、これになるから、多分無理。帰れなくなる。I can't go back to this room. だから、それできない。そう、ダメです、それ。だから、わかんないね、そのトゥルーエンドは。ごめんね。ちょっと、無理かも、トゥルーエンド。どれがトゥルーエンド？トゥルーエンドとかあるのか、これ、そもそも。ちょっとわかんないな。ああ、そうかもね。これ、サンディパラベルのデラックスエディションだから、前のバージョンのことかもしれない。ということでちょっと僕のスタンディーパラベルはここまでにしようかなと思います。めっちゃ見たね、エンディング。めっちゃあるし、まだ僕が見た数の倍ぐらいあるから、ぜひね、みんなも各自やってみてください。めっちゃおもろいゲームだった。超えるんかった。
He hoped very much that it was.
427。なんかね、窓から出れるエンディングとかもあるらしい。どこの窓かわかんないけど。430円のデスク。これか。おおおおおあ
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
まあ、ちょっと飽きたから。
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want. Like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he...
ということで戻りっていう私 つ戻ります。ということで、ザ・スタンリー・パラベル、約4時間、すっごい数のエンディングをブワーっと浴びせられまして、めっちゃおもろかったね。まあ、気合が入れば、今日見たエンディングも、見る回とかも、ちょっといつかやるかもしれないし、やらないかもしれない。ということで、遅くまでに見てくれてありがとう。もう3時だ。ということで、また明日はね、多分オーバーウォッチやるかな。ということで、また明日の配信でお会いしましょう。めっちゃおもろかったです。じゃあね、おやすみね。バイバーイ。